Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian in the south.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines. Staying put, victory for a paralysed man who fought a council's attempt to evict him from specialist care.
Compulsory chipping, how a new law could help reunite lost or stolen dogs with their owners. Also tonight.
There's a starman waiting in the sky.
Memories of David Bowie, from his last UK concert on the Isle of Wight to his childhood friend on how the master of reinvention got those different coloured eyes.
And celebrating unity. Southampton's first community radio station marks 10 years on the airwaves with a very special award. Good evening to you. A desperate year of stress and worry. That's how a paralysed man from West Sussex has described his battle with a council that tried to force him out of specialist care and into unsuitable accommodation.
Simon Gray from Burgess Hill has now won the right to live in a fully adapted home after the local government ombudsman ruled in his favour. She said the council was at fault in the way it handled the case. Tom Savides has this report.
Simon Gray has moved into a fully adapted home in Burgess Hill, which suits his needs. But it's been a long and stressful battle that has taken a year.
It was a year of nothing but stress and worry about where I was going to end up living, or whether the council were just going to withdraw funding for where I was staying. No idea where I was going to end up.
How do you feel about the way that you were treated initially?
Absolutely disgusted, really. They hadn't taken any of my points into consideration.
Simon took on East Sussex County Council after it served him with an eviction notice instructing him to move out of this specialist care centre and into this house in Peacehaven, which wasn't suitable for wheelchair users. The council wasn't willing to continue funding his care. Simon, who became paralysed after slipping on stairs 3 years ago, took his case to the local government ombudsman and won.
How do you feel now?
Perfect. It's so much better. The stress is gone. I feel a lot healthier.
Simon Gray moved into his new home here in Burgess Hill just before Christmas after the local government ombudsman ruled in his favour. She said that East Sussex County Council was at fault in the way it handled Mr Gray's case. In a statement, East Sussex County Council told us, "The council fully accepted the Ombudsman's findings that our planning to support Mr Gray to live independently was not clear and well managed. Since the Ombudsman's report, we supported Mr Gray to move into housing association accommodation." Simon Gray has spent a year fighting his case with the help of a local councillor.
The social security safety net is for people like Simon. Money should not ever have come into that, and that was the overriding factor here, I think. One department putting pressure on another department purely for financial reasons, and that was morally wrong.
The task of taking on a county council may have seemed immense at the time, but Simon Gray has proved that wrong decisions can be overturned. Tom Savides, ITV News, Burgess Hill.
In other news, a man has appeared in court charged with perverting the course of justice in connection with the murder of a man in Southsea. 27-year-old Christopher Butler was found in a flat on Waverley Road on New Year's Day. 48-year-old Neil Stacey has been remanded in custody to appear at Winchester Crown Court in February. 32-year-old Brendan Willis has been charged with murder.
One person has died in a four-vehicle accident on the A23 in Sussex. It happened just after 4 o'clock this morning, north of the Pycombe services. The road was closed for several hours.
New evidence suggests a teenage army recruit found dead at Deep Cut Barracks more than 20 years ago was being sexually exploited by senior ranks shortly before she died. Cheryl James was found with a bullet wound to her head at the barracks in Surrey in 1995. A previous open verdict was quashed in the High Court.
The Chief Executive of Southern Health NHS Trust has rejected calls for her resignation at a public meeting. Katrina Percy came under fire after the Trust failed to investigate hundreds of unexplained deaths over a 4-year period, including the death of Connor Sparrowhawk. His family say the lack of accountability is causing more pain for relatives.
They've just piled on to our grief and sort of, in some ways, haven't let us grieve properly and sort of dragged out the process so much. And they don't seem to take much responsibility for that or seem to realise how much they've actually done that.
Now, if you're a dog owner, a new law comes into force in April, which means your pet must be microchipped. If it's not, you could end up with a £500 fine and a criminal record.
Well, the new law will make it easier to track down the owners of vicious or illegal dogs and also help reunite people with lost or stolen dogs. Mel Blaw has the story.
This is Violet, an 18-month-old lurcher. She was found wandering the streets last week and brought here to this dog's home.
She hasn't got a microchip, so unfortunately we can't get in contact with her owners, so we're hoping that they'll come forward and we can able to reunite them. She's a little bit underweight and does have an injury on one of her back legs, but we'll nurse her back to health, and if her owners don't come forward, then we'll be looking for a new home for her.
Lost and stray dogs like Violet cost the taxpayer and welfare charities £33 million a year. A microchip will make it so much easier to reunite a dog with its owner.
And this is what a microchip looks like. It's around the size of a grain of rice and is injected into the dog's neck. The microchip contains the owner's contact details, so a simple scan can reveal who the dog belongs to. It can also help police track down the owners of dangerous or illegal dogs.
A lot of people perhaps won't worry about it because they'll say, oh, their dog doesn't go anywhere. If it gets lost, they'll find it anyway and it'll come back. So we may have to check every dog that comes in that we see to see if it's been microchipped, and if it hasn't been microchipped, we'll have to suggest that they do microchip it to bring it into the legislation.
So what happens if you don't get your dog microchipped? Well, you could end up with a hefty £500 fine and a criminal record.
How are you going to check if a dog's been microchipped? How is it going to be monitored?
We got a dog as a rescue, so it was microchipped when we got her, but I know it gets offered for free even if you don't have that done. They can just update the details if you get a rescue dog, so I think it's a good idea.
The new law comes into force on April the 6th and should mean more happy endings for dogs like Violet. Mel Blaw, ITV News.
A man's been charged after a man was stabbed during an attempted robbery at Alton in Hampshire. Emergency services were called to the junction of Greenfields Avenue and Old Odium Road on the evening of Monday the 28th of December. 22-year-old Powell Zimnicki appeared in court this morning and was released on bail.
And hundreds of people were in Southampton last night for a huge fireworks display to mark the departure of Cunard's 3 ships leaving together on world cruises for the first ever time. A record 10,000 passengers and crew departed on Queen Mary II, Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth for voyages to every part of the globe.
Lucky them. You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thanks very much for choosing us. Coming up.
Searching for a cure for Alzheimer's disease, the research at Southampton University described as an exciting development.
For all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, call us please 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook, or why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Now, the death of David Bowie has shocked fans across the world. The creator of Ziggy Stardust and a host of other iconic pop personas died after a secret 18-month battle with cancer.
Yes, his last performance in the UK was at the Isle of Wight Festival in 2004, and today the festival organiser John Giddings said he cried when he heard the news.
Also devastated is artist George Underwood from Sussex. He and Bowie attended the same art college in the 1960s.
Yes, and as students they had a fight over a girl, a fight that left a permanent mark on the face of the master of reinvention. Malcolm Shaw has the story.
David Bowie performing his last live show in the UK at the Isle of Wight Festival in 2004. His extraordinary career spanned 6 decades, his ability to reinvent himself and his music unsurpassed.
It's poignant now because you think The Doors, Hendrix, David Bowie, it's their last performances on these shores. It's just wonderful that he did it. It was an extraordinary performance. You can see it on the internet, and it will be one of the, a musical, magical moment for the rest of our lives.
Also paying tribute to David Bowie today, lifelong friend George Underwood from Buxted in Sussex. They met as boys and went to Bromley Technical College, playing together in some of Bowie's first bands. George also gave David his different coloured eyes, the result of a teenage scrap over a girlfriend.
He was funny, he was charismatic, he could be daft and stupid, like, playing games. He could be anything you wanted him to be. He would be able to make you laugh, and a lot. He made me laugh a lot.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Bowie first hit the charts in 1969 with Space Oddity. Astronaut Tim Peake from Sussex today tweeted from the International Space Station saying the music was an inspiration to many.
There's a starman waiting in the sky.
It was the release of the Ziggy Stardust album in 1972 which made David Bowie an international star.
He was always doing some variation of the other, the outsider, and every young person thinks of themselves as the other, the outsider, the freak, and they latched on to one or more of those Bowie images.
On the day of execution.
David Bowie's last album was released only 3 days ago. His battle with cancer, a surprise to all but his closest friends and family. His producer, Tony Visconti, said Bowie's death, like his life, was a work of art. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News.
And so many of you have been getting in contact with your memories.
Indeed, yes. Claire Costa from Portsmouth says, I loved everything about him since the Labyrinth film. It was amazing growing up listening to a legend. Rest in peace, David Bowie.
Yes, Ruth Parry from Brackley on the Oxfordshire border says, I grew up listening to him. I danced the night away at school discos and kissed a boy called Ziggy. Great music, great man.
Yeah, and Beverly Palmer says, I saw him 3 times and even went to Germany to see him. Aladdin Sane was his best album.
And Linda Holden from Basingstoke writes, really sad. He was a brilliant performer. R.I.P. David. Thank you to everyone who got in touch. Keep them coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And more on the global reaction to David Bowie's death coming up on the ITV Evening News at 6:30 with all the details. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Tribute to David Bowie, who's died aged 69 after an 18-month battle with cancer.
Now Ziggy play guitar, jamming good with Weir.
Bowie's work spanned 6 decades and has been described as extraordinary and truly original. He was an artist, a film star and a fashion icon.
Look up here, I'm in heaven.
Bowie's last album was released on Friday, just 2 days before his death. Well, do join Mark Austin me for more on that and the rest of the day's news at 6:30.
We will, thank you very much indeed. Now, it is being hailed as an exciting development in Alzheimer's research and could lead to new treatments for the debilitating disease.
Yes, experts at the University of Southampton have found that blocking the production of new immune cells in the brain could reduce memory problems. The findings add weight to evidence that inflammation in the brain is what drives the condition.
Well, earlier we were joined in the studio by Dr. Diego Gomez-Nicola from Southampton University. Dr. Gomez-Nicola, thank you so much for joining us. More than 500,000 people here in the UK suffer from Alzheimer's. This could be so exciting. Could this be the start of a cure for this dreadful, dreadful disease?
It could be the start of a cure. We are now on the right track, identifying that inflammation is important for the progression of this disease. And following this route, we are confident that we will be able to provide benefit for the society.
Is it possible, in simple layman's terms that we can all understand, for you to tell us what you've discovered in your research?
Sure. We've been able to tackle a specific cell type in the brain called the microglia, that is a cell from immune origin, and by tackling the number of these cells, by specifically inhibiting one molecule called CSF1R, we are able to control the numbers of these cells, the inflammatory tone, and therefore the progression of the pathology. We've been able to validate that this system is active also in human Alzheimer's disease, and we are now on the right track to try to translate that into the clinic.
And this is all the result, is it not, of a massive effort by the government, by researchers, by doctors like yourself, and by charities?
Yes. So basically this is a joint effort by many partners. I mean, there's charities like Alzheimer's Research UK that is funding this research, centrally like the Medical Research Council funding this research, to try to commit a lot of resources with a common aim, that is finding a cure for Alzheimer's disease as soon as possible.
Let me put you on the spot. It's a very, very unfair question, but if your research continues at the pace it is at the moment with all these exciting new discoveries, how long before we have a cure for Alzheimer's, possibly?
We now have different projects underway in collaboration with industrial partners, basically trying to translate these findings into the clinic. It will be about finding better drugs to target this receptor that I talked about, or drugs that do not have side effects. And if we are able to meet these targets, we could be putting these drugs into the clinic in about 2 or 3 years.
Fantastic. Let's hope so. Good luck with all of your research, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, talks between the Doctors' Union and NHS bosses are continuing this evening ahead of a planned strike by junior doctors tomorrow over weekend hours and pay. Junior doctors will only provide emergency care for 24 hours from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford is rescheduling non-urgent and outpatient appointments.
Royal Sussex County Hospital has rescheduled some outpatient clinics and planned surgery. The Hampshire Hospitals NHS Trust says patients with appointments which might be affected are being contacted.
The winter is always the hardest time for the NHS, and we're already hearing of a large number of hospitals already on black alert. So this is going to be a really, really challenging time for a very large number of doctors not to be there providing the great care that they provide for their patients day by day.
Now, it has 50,000 listeners in the south of England, and the presenters speak a myriad of languages. This weekend, Southampton's first community radio station, Unity 101, marked its 10th anniversary in some style.
Yes, during its decade on the airwaves, the radio stations helped the city's diverse communities, old and new, come together. The celebrations lasted 3 days. Our very own Sangeeta had the honour of presenting an award to one very special lady.
Bollywood classic blasted out big band style at a special concert to celebrate 10 years of Unity 101. And this is how the community radio station began life on Southampton's airwaves.
Unity 101.
This is Unity 101 Community Radio, broadcasting in around Southampton on 101.1 FM.
Well, I identified with my co-founder the need for the service which will provide to the Asian and ethnic community. And more importantly was to join and bring and bind people together of that community through using the medium of music. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with 225 volunteers pulling it together, we made a success of 10 years.
One of the radio station's biggest successes was getting the Queen's Award for voluntary service.
Witajcie, tu oczywiście program The Sound of Poland.
All the presenters here give up their time for free. Whether they speak Punjabi or Polish, they all feel welcome.
I've learned a lot about different cultures and community since I've been here, and how important it is to actually volunteer. You don't have to always be paid to do things.
It is showcasing the talents of the local community. It's also about broadcasting in different languages and representing how Southampton has diversed over the years.
The 10th birthday celebrations were also a chance to recognise Southampton people who have helped in the quest for unity. Local lad Nazrul Chowdhury, who led the fight against the Channel 4 documentary Immigration Street, being given a special community award.
If you're
not happy with your surrounding, you know, you need to volunteer, you know, you need to do something. And also the benefit is not just to the community, it's to yourself as well.
And I had the honour of presenting a Lifetime Achievement Award to great-grandmother Alice Mowat. The 84-year-old was a founding member of Southampton's Council for Racial Equality.
How does it make you feel when you see all the communities trying to live together as one now?
I felt good. I felt really good to know that I brought them all together.
Together, and that's what Unity is set on doing over the next 10 years.
Thank you for reporting there. Well done, Unity 101. Well done to most of our teams in the FA Cup third round. With the details, Divya Kohli.
Thank you very much. Well, what a weekend of cup football. Great entertainment and memorable occasions, especially for supporters at Oxford United and Eastleigh. Oxford sent Premier League Swansea out of the cup at the Kassam, while non-league Eastleigh are still in the competition after a home draw. Reading and Portsmouth also have replays, while Bournemouth won their tie. Chris Morn rounds up the action.
ITV Meridian Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
The Kassam was bouncing as Michael Appleton's Oxford United toppled a Premier League side out of the cup. Liam Sercombe's penalty made it 1-1 at the break. The hero of the hour was Kemar Roof. The 23-year-old is a rising star. His 14th goal of the season had the U supporters on their feet. And they were ecstatic when his 15th edged Oxford towards a famous victory. And although Bafétimbi Gomis cut the deficit to set up an anxious finale, Oxford deserved their success. It was a special day at Eastleigh. The 5,000 crammed into the Silver Lake Stadium sensed a giant killing when Bolton's Dorian DeVete turned the ball into his own goal. Bottom of the Championship and struggling to stay in business, Bolton salvaged a replay in the 87th minute. But Eastleigh have their place in this evening's fourth round draw.
It was a massive day for the football club. It's been fantastic from minute one to minute end, and the performance on the pitch matched that as well.
Promotion from League Two is Portsmouth's priority, but Fratton will be rocking for a replay with Ipswich. Kyle Bennett's finish cancelled out the Championship club's lead. Connor Chaplin's strike then put Pompey in front before Ryan Fraser's free kick sailed in to earn Ipswich a second chance. It was a successful weekend for Eddie Howe. The Bournemouth boss agreed a club record deal to sign Benik Afobe from Wolves, and his side came back from trailing to Michael Morrison's header at Birmingham. Lee Tomlin among 11 changes to the side, levelled from the penalty spot. The Blues squandered their own spot kick before Glenn Murray pounced for the Cherries' winner. Reading were one down at Huddersfield until Mathieu Vidra's shot looped over the home keeper. And when Hal Robson-Kanu scored his first of the season, victory was in the Royals' grasp. But a late penalty means they'll go again at the Madejski. Southampton's adventure didn't last long. Oriol Romeo's goal brought Saints level, but for a second successive season, Crystal Palace triumphed. The keeper's parry unerringly dispatched by Wilfried Zaha. A penalty conceded by Lewis Dunk settled Brighton's tie at Hull. Robert Snodgrass the scorer. The Seagulls will strive to arrest their slide at Rotherham tomorrow. Chris Morn, ITV News.
And just a reminder to check who your teams will face in the FA Cup fourth round draw that takes place in around an hour's time. Finally, a winning weekend for ice hockey's Basingstoke Bisons, who notched up 2 victories. Saturday saw them beat Manchester Phoenix 5-0 at home, and Sunday's trip to Hull ended with a 4-1 win. They extend their lead at the top of the English Premier League to 6 points. That's all your sport news.
And very dramatic it was too. Thank you very much indeed. Well, the actor, comedian and keen traveller Griff Rhys-Jones is on a journey to discover Great Britain in a slightly unusual way.
Yes, while taking in some of the spectacular scenery on offer, he's challenged to a series of bizarre tasks designed to teach him a bit more about the places he goes. And as part of the series, he pays a visit to our region, as Emma Wilkinson reports.
Highlands to downs, coasts to borders, and plenty in between. Griff Rhys-Jones is on a mission to explore all that is great about Great Britain. And he's doing so in his own unique way.
Was that just a llama?
Perhaps best known for his comedy, Griff Rhys-Jones is also a seasoned traveller. From the UK's mountain ranges to Africa's railways, he's always on the lookout for his next adventure. This time, he set out to learn the lesser-known facts hidden within our landscapes.
We're very lucky in Britain to have a sort of continent in miniature. Just have a look around you. You'd be astonished at what you see and how beautiful and how amazing. And the second thing is that all this landscape has a story behind it about its making and what created it and how it came to be. And that is a story, not funny enough, of a wild place or a place made by nature, but made by nature and man together.
Griff hears stories and legends about the places he goes. He flies and floats and takes in the rural beauty of places like the Cotswolds.
Considering we read so much about David Cameron and Jeremy Clarkson and everybody living there, it's actually a very underpopulated area, the Cotswolds. It's not because it's a very rural area. And because it's so rural, I was challenged to exhibit a giant marrow.
And Big Vegetables is just the start. Griff encounters various unusual challenges. If he's not emblazoned across a deck chair or searching for a vampire, he's trying his hand at more high-octane tasks.
This is edge-of-your-seat stuff.
Bizarre tasks, quirky facts, spectacular scenery. Griff Rhys-Jones has been busy. He couldn't go everywhere for this series, but he tells me he's already planning the next big adventure. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News.
Beautiful photography in Griff's Great Britain here on ITV 8 o'clock this evening.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. And a welcome back to Mr. Simon Parkin. He's clearly brought some terrible weather with him.
Well, no, but I've brought some beautiful photography before we get to the terrible weather.
Good.
Sunrise, sunset, first one of the new year. You up for the challenge?
Yes.
An excuse to look at some lovely pictures. Here's
Lovely.
the first one. Not quite sure how long Matt Pinner had to wait until he finally got the sun poking through Derby
That's
door.
got to be a rise, hasn't it?
It is a rise, well done.
Rachel,
OK, you got to love a windmill, and this one is Brill, quite literally, in Buckinghamshire from Nell
Rachel,
Smith.
what is it?
Let's go for a sunset.
Oh, you're good at this. You can come again. OK, lovely view of Portland Bill here that made Stefan Olak realise that sometimes you just need to stand back and take it all in.
Yeah, that's a sunset.
It is a sunset.
Yeah,
Very good.
3-0.
I've been practising through the Christmas break. How brilliant is this? Tony Friend managed to get a shot of the sun getting a lift on a ship.
Beautiful. Well, that's got to be one of each, isn't it? Or two of each. That's a rise.
It is a rise,
Hey.
OK. Oliver Daniel Nichols in Abingdon. Lovely bit of bird action here.
Sunset.
Tis a sunset. And the last one, lovely bit of reflection on the Kennet Canal in Thatcham from Peter Stewart. What do you reckon?
I think that's a set.
It is a sunset. That's a full house.
Good.
How did you manage that?
Oh, humiliation. I don't care what the weather is, but let's find out. Simon Parkin.
That's us driving on, us driving off in France, and us outside a chateau.
Driving to Europe. Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, here's an arty moment from Ken in Hungerford. That's a tree in a tree. All very clever, although the cleverest thing is that, well, there aren't any puddles on the picture and it just seems like it's been raining forever. That's not going to end as we head through this week. Plus, it's going to get a bit colder too. As the low pressure drifts away eastwards from the north, we're going to see cold winds coming down. There will be a bit of winteriness further north in the country. We might just see a bit of sleet towards the end of the week, but high pressure at times too, and that means some winter sunshine on the cards at times as well. For tonight, though, still the risk of an odd shower before midnight. After midnight, we're dry, clear spells. Temperatures down to a chilly 2 or 3 degrees. Enough of a breeze to stop frost from being too much of an issue, but there might be a few rural patches first thing tomorrow morning, and it will be a lovely start. Dry and fine, with some winter sunshine to get us going. But from the west, we'll see the clouds start to thicken up. Outbreaks of rain into the afternoon, heaviest towards the Thames Valley, light and patchy towards the south, and very strong gusty winds, gale force gusts along the coast. As for your high tide times, in Portsmouth, 1:20 in the morning, 1:45 in the afternoon.
Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, that's how it's looking this Monday evening. In just a moment, we'll have the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale and Mark Austin.
Stacey Poole has our late news. Join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.